Leeds United are set for their first permanent departure of the summer. I'm ignoring all the people that are leaving on a free. They're basically out of the question anyway. And this is because there are currently ongoing talks over a permanent Leeds United departure, someone that we thought would be leaving on loan, but is now looking like they're going to leave forever, which people won't be too mad about. It's potentially good news for their ideas of squad building, but it is potentially bad news for the club's finances. Maybe-ish. Hard to say. I'll get into it. But first, subscribe. Thank you very much. It's just very helpful. Anyway, hopping into it, Leeds United's first departure, we need to learn before anything else who exactly is set to leave Leeds United. It's going to be Marc Roca, by the sounds of it, who is in discussions to make his loan deal permanent. He spent last season out on loan at Real Betis, played a good amount of football alongside the likes of Isco and whoever the hell else is at Real Betis. I've not kept that much of a track of that club, purely because when it came to being assigned work events, because we cover La Liga sometimes, I've very deliberately avoided him. However, from what I've seen, he played quite well, and Real Betis want to extend it and make it a longer loan, or potentially, as we're discussing here, a permanent deal. Now, it's important to know that technically he does have a loan clause still. He's one of the players that, since we're still in the Championship, he can leave on loan no matter what, as long as someone offers to cover his wages, which he will probably take at the very least, or at least he will take the opportunity to not be at Leeds, because clearly doesn't like it here that much. Keeps wanting to not be here. Don't usually want him here either. However, it's widely seen as being better for him to move permanently away from Elland Road and towards Real Betis, and it's for a good few reasons, to be honest. But that's not what we care about at Leeds. We don't care whether Marc Roca, I've combined two players there. We don't care if Marc Roca is especially happy with what's going on here, because what we care about is the fee that we're expecting to receive, because that's what counts here. In terms of being a player at Leeds, his time's done. He's not going to come back. I've just realised I haven't had my face light on all video. Yeah, in terms of our decisions, we're not really caring about his welfare because he didn't care about our welfare. So let's care about our financial welfare going forwards. And reports from James Marshman, who dropped this story, indicate a probable loss on the finances, which is sort of understandable. He cost us £12 million 2 years ago in that big rebuild that we did under Jesse Marsh when we signed Roca and Aronson and Adams and Sinisterra and Christensen. You're beginning to see a little bit of a trend here. But over that 2-year period, he hasn't really proven himself to be better than that. First season in the Premier League, sure. Progressive passing, quite good. However, didn't do enough defensively or in terms of actual chance creation to make himself a permanent fixture at Leeds United. Went to Real Betis, and whilst he impressed enough to stay in the starting 11, he didn't really set the league on fire. So he's not proven himself to be better than that £12 million fee. Add on to that the fact that Real Betis are set to apparently sign Roman Perro from Southampton for approximately £3 million. That somewhat depletes their budget a little bit. In the Liga, you do not have as big a budget to spend on players as you do in the Premier League, purely because TV revenue in the Premier League dwarfs every other division. We have Sky Sports and BT and Amazon all fighting for coverage of this division, whereas on the continent, that's not the case. Looking at France in particular, off the top of my head, I don't think they have either a domestic or an international TV deal at the moment, which means that clubs over there are going to be drowning at some point soon just because they don't have the income. In Spain, yeah, sure, there's bidding wars over what happens with the TV deal, but it's nowhere near what it is in the Premier League, and their sort of financial structure is very different as well, with Real Madrid, Barcelona getting so much of the cash compared to the rest of the league that it's unbelievable, and it sort of screws every single other club. So whilst it will make a fairly hefty financial loss, we do have to ask ourselves the question of, is it the right move? And this isn't for Marc Roca, because again, don't really care that much about Marc Roca. If he wants to leave, he wants to leave. We can just facilitate that. Is it the right move for the club? And I've gone with probably. Because there's always a chance that things can go differently, but basically he needs to move on at some point. There's no way that if we stay in the Championship, we can just say, well, okay, out you go on loan again. Or if we get promoted, there's no way of going, you've been at Betis for 2 years, but sure, come back into the fold. Welcome in, Mark. That isn't going to happen. Instead, it's going to be a case of, well, Okay, so you had a season out on loan. We didn't get promoted. You want to just leave? It feels better for everyone. Add on to the fact that his value will only continue to fall in the coming years because as a midfielder, he will be getting older, combined with the fact that his contract will be getting shorter. So we've got less sort of negotiating wiggle room on that in terms of like saying, well, we've got time to sell him. Gradually over time, you're not going to have the time to sell him. So now is about the right spot. In addition to that, in my opinion, it's best to cash in on the spare players rather than the first teamers. So if you look at our first team last season, you've got your Ampadu, Kamara, Gruev in terms of the midfield positions, Archie Gray as well. I would much rather sell a Marc Roca and have the financial umph from that to make us safe from PRS to improve the transfer budget and then retain Archie Gray than sell Archie Gray and have a little bit more cash. To me, that makes a little bit more sense. And let's be honest, the loan players are never going to be coming back. At least Roca isn't, I don't think, because he quite likes his time in Spain. And Max Wuber, I think, probably won't because he had a chat with Daniel Farker and slightly stabbed him in the back. Same sort of position as Luis Sinisterra, except he managed to leave permanently. Add on to that, I think this is the right move in terms of specific club to be targeting. I think it's going to be very, very tough to sell him away from Real Betis. Real Betis know how he fits in. He knows why he fits at Real Betis, which means that he's got a little bit less uncertainty around the whole thing and feels a little bit more comfy there. So it'll be almost impossible for us to ramp up a bidding war like I'm sure we'd like to, like I hope we see in the coming weeks with Crescencio Somerville. But basically, this is the case in which all parties win because Roca gets the move he wants, Betis get their player permanently, and we get him off our books. Or in our case, it's the case in which we lose the least because we're always going to make a financial loss on this deal. We're always going to come out of it being a bit like, well, I kind of wish that he would have done a little bit better for us, kept us in the Premier League, all that sort of stuff. But in this case, we're able to get rid of him permanently, not need to ever pay his wages again, not even need to have conversations around whether or not he'll come back again. It brings peace of mind, it brings financial security, and a little bit more confidence as to what's going to happen into next season. Because the amount of questions that we have to answer, flattened, basically. But ultimately, I do want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about Marc Roca as a guy, about his time at Leeds United, about his time at Betis, roughly what we'll get in terms of a fee. I'm thinking probably looking 6 to 8 million-ish, but you can't be 100% certain on that. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you aren't yet, that'd be massively appreciated. Even become a channel member, because all that money is still going towards Prostate Cancer UK with the big old walk coming up in about 6 weeks. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. It's a bit sad that he's never going to come back, but I think leaving is right for him. I think Gunner sums him up. Down below in the comments, put the word Gunner as in Gonna, because he's gonna leave us, you know? That's if you get this far. See you later.